Good evening, friends. Kevin the Comic Doctor coming to you with another edition of One on One. How you doing, guys? Kevin the Comic Doctor. I'm a comic book presser. I'm also an authorized CGC dealer located way up in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. And this, like I said, is One on One, the show where I come on here and just talk to you guys about all things comic books, comic book related, collecting, what have you. If you're new here, my friends, you might want to consider subscribing to the channel. By doing so, it allows you the opportunity to chat with me over in the live chat section when we go there in just a few moments. I decided to come on here today, fellas, because I was actually, another person requested another video on shipping, specifically to Canada and to hold on, I got sound coming in here from another source. One sec, my friends. It's probably here. There it is. Okay, I'm going to pause that. All right, perfect. As I was saying, I had a request from another subscriber to talk a bit more about the shipping and what it entails, specifically comic books. Okay, obviously, here we are. But this would apply to all collectibles as well. So happy to share my knowledge with all of you. I've been doing this for shipping back and forth to the United States and back into Canada for 10 years now. So I think I've got a pretty good understanding of how it all works. I'll go over some of the things you need to know about when you're shipping books to Canada or from the United States, sorry, to Canada from the United States or from the United States into Canada. It's pretty much the same documents are needed to go both, going from one place to the other. So I'll talk about, first off, the commercial invoice. The commercial invoice is a very important document you have to have attached to your box when you're shipping your goods from Canada to the US or from the US to Canada. And what the commercial invoice does, and by the way, it's called a commercial invoice, but even if it's not, if you're not a business, you still have to fill one out. So if you're just a regular Joe and you say you want to send comics up to me to get pressed, for example, or you want me to look at your books and give you an assessment, you still have to fill out a commercial invoice. Same thing applies when I send my books down to CGC to be graded. I had to fill out a commercial invoice. Again, what does it do? It basically, who are the parties involved and who the importer is, who the exporter is. And then it asks the reason for why you are exporting or importing the goods. And it also asks for the item code or the tariff code that goes along with the item in which you are shipping. If it's a comic book or a magazine, I should have wrote that down. Actually, I do have the code that I use, but you can go on to Google and do a search and find the US or the North America codes for comic books or magazines. And most importantly, it's asking for the value of the contents of the parcel being shipped. That's the big thing. The commercial invoice really is there so that either the United States or Canada will get their fair share of taxes if the value exceeds a certain amount. That is what the commercial invoice does. When you're using FedEx, now I exclusively use FedEx when I ship to the States. I find there's zero surprises with FedEx. When I ship to the United States, it's FedEx. Or if I'm shipping a comic book, say, back to a client, one comic or two comics, sometimes it's more cost-effective to use Canada Post. And when I say Canada Post, I'm saying Canada Post /USPS, because once it leaves Canada, it becomes a parcel for USPS to deliver. I like using those FedEx or Canada Post because there are usually no surprises. I find with UPS, they kind of, it's kind of a racket. They will, I'll send a parcel to you, for example, and through UPS, and you will get a phone call before it's delivered saying, you need to pay customs clearance fees, all the baloney, and this is usually $20 or $30 or $40, depending on the value of the items in the box. But like I said, when I use FedEx, that never happens. It never, ever happens. So that's why when I go international from Canada to the United States, and even when it goes from the United States to Canada, I often recommend that my clients send the books to me using FedEx or USPS, and not to use UPS because it's a racket. Okay, so that's the first thing, commercial invoice. Now, how do you generate a commercial invoice? Well, oftentimes the commercial invoices are generated for you. If you go onto the FedEx website and you do a shipping label, you can it'll create a commercial invoice for you based on the details you provide. So you'll indicate where it's going. You'll indicate again the value, the reason for shipping, and it'll spit out a commercial invoice. You have to slap that sucker on the side of your box, get an extra baggie or whatever, and you put it beside your shipping label. If you don't have a commercial invoice, sometimes your parcel will sneak through and it will get delivered. But oftentimes, more often than not, it'll cause delays. The item will get stopped the parcel will get stopped along its route. You'll probably get a phone call from the carrier saying, we need you to fill out missing documents. Then you'll have to create a commercial invoice and fax it or email to them. It might slow down your parcel by 2 or 3 or up as much as a week. So you want to be careful. You want to make sure that commercial invoice is on there. And I'll tell you, I'm using a new service called freightcom.com, and I've told a lot of people about freightcom.com. Americans, Canadians can both use it. It's an amazing third-party label, I guess, shipping label creator, and it uses FedEx, UPS, Purolator, Campar, DHL. It uses all kinds of different carriers, but it gives you amazing rates, right? So I've been using Freightcom for a long time. There's a reason why I was telling you that. I didn't write that down. I forgot why I even told you that. I'm not only just plugging that place, but there was a reason why I was telling you about the commercial invoice. I know what I was going to say. It oftentimes now FedEx and even UPS, they don't need to have your commercial invoice attached to the box anymore. It's kind of attached to the tracking number. I don't give a shit. I still print it out and I still attach it because that's old school comic doctor. I'm not taking any chances. I don't want no slowdowns. They're saying they're trying to conserve paper and go paperless and all that sort of thing. So it's kind of cool. They're not asking for it anymore, but I choose to slap one on there. And by the way, usually you need to attach 3 copies of a commercial invoice going there or back into Canada or into the United States. You still need to have 3. Okay, so that's a commercial invoice. Let me go over to the chat and see if you have any questions. I have more things to talk about too. A really important thing in a moment, which kind of is connected to the commercial invoice. Let me go over to the chat first and see who's here. And again, if you have any questions about shipping, now's the time to ask, guys. 10 years of doing this. I know how to ship stuff without getting dinged. So ask me your questions. Let me go over here. Where's the chat window? There it is. Boom. Lord Thoth is here, my trusty blue wrench. How are you? Wayne is also here, my other trusty blue wrench. Two blue wrenches. You guys can't mess around today. Warren's here. How you doing, Warren? John says, how you doing? Ranger for Collectors is here. The man, the myth, the legend. That's me. Or is that you? I don't know. It's one of us. Treasury Edition's here. Potential for the books to get lost, too. Bit of a gamble. Pertaining to what? Without the commercial invoice? Blue Oceans, I get absolutely crushed or crashed by ridiculous FedEx fees on U.S. shipments to me here in Canada. All right. I like to hear, well, I don't like to hear that, but I'm going to tell you how you can avoid that moving forward. A Ranger for Collector says, hit that like button, guys. Help the doc. Yeah, please do. I certainly would appreciate that. How you doing, Dave? How you doing, Brian Bowman? How's it going? Okay. Blue Ocean. I get absolutely crashed by ridiculous FedEx fees on U.S. shipments to me here in Canada. The reason why that is happening, I would guess, and you can correct me here if I'm wrong, is, and this was going to talk about next, what kind of values, whoever's shipping you these parcels from the U.S., whether it be comic books or whatever, what kind of dollar value are they putting on the commercial invoice? That is critical. That is critical. Okay, if they are putting, say, $1,000 value on the commercial invoice, you are going to get charged probably a couple of $100 for clearance fees as well as HST. Right. So Blue Ocean, please let me know. Give me more specifics as to the parcel and what kind of values. But I'm going to tell you how to get away with that right now. I tell people sending me books that if you're sending books to me, you want to keep the values as low as humanly possible. Now, that is scary. If you're sending me an AF-15 that's worth $30,000 and I'm telling you, put a value of $50 on that AF-15, you're gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, if you put $50,000 on that, commercial invoice for that AF-15, you are going to get hosed hard, big time. Even if you say on the invoice, items not sold, but you put a value of $50,000, they're going to charge you massive customs clearance fees. So the trick, my friends, simply put, is this: keep the values being shipped to you, or if you're shipping books down to the States, keep the values at like $50, $25, even $10, whatever. Even if the book is worth thousands of dollars. I'm being honest, because otherwise you're going to get nailed. And I've said this before: when CGC sends parcels from Florida into Canada, and if you've ever received a full box of CGC books from Sarasota, you'll notice on the commercial invoice, $125 value for the entire box, $5 a book. They do that because they know that too many Canadian clients are getting stung with huge FedEx and HST bills. So you have to be really, really careful about that. So you want to make sure you keep the values low. Now, people always ask me, but what if I put $1,000 on my CGC submission form? Say I'm sending an ASM 14 First Green Goblin, and it's $1,000 book, and I put $1,000 on my CGC forms. Don't I have to put that on my commercial invoice? No. CGC stuff is for CGC. Okay, the commercial invoice is for for FedEx or the USPS or Canada Post, whatever. The two don't mix. Okay, so you want to make sure you put the proper value on the CGC form, because that's what they're going to be insuring the book at. Okay, but the customs clearance forms, you want to keep it as low as possible. Dave says, what happens if customs decides to inspect the box? They could do that. Now, if customs were to inspect the box, say they pulled out a few, say they inspected a box of my books coming back from CGC, and there's again, huge books in there, right? And they determine the box is worth $10,000. Okay. Yeah, they could say, all right, this box is worth $10,000, and they could then turn around and charge me egregious customs clearance fees and HST. That is possible. That is totally possible. But for them to do that, more often than not, they're going to have to do some research. Although if you have the CGC forms in the box, it'll let them know that anyways. The thing you got to remember, though, guys, is these books have not been sold. Right? The books going to CGC have not been sold, and the books coming into Canada for my clients have not been sold. So there should be zero clearance fees, zero anything, because the books are just being sent for repair and return, I guess you could say. But I try to be as forthright as possible. I have a little stamp I made. I don't know if you can read that or not. Oh, right there. That's the stamp I send. When I ship books to CGC, I stamp this onto my, customs clearance form, and then I highlight, because I also type in "not sold" on the customs clear form. I highlight that too. I've never had a problem. So far. But Dave, that is definitely a possibility. That could happen. Now, if you're using FedEx and what if you want to use insurance, right? People say, what about insurance? If I'm saying the box is only worth $50, but I've got, say, $500 of books, and I want to insure them for $500, can I not still do that? I believe you still can. I am not 100% sure on that, because I don't insure my books through FedEx, right? I have a third-party insurance policy that covers me for up to $50,000. But I'm pretty sure that regardless of what you put in the customs forms, you can request more for the insurance portion, okay? But what I often tell people is this, because FedEx, UPS, even USPS, Canada Post, the insurance policies are very expensive. They're not cheap, right? You're paying a lot of money for even just $1,000 coverage. So what I tell people is, so the money, don't spend the money on the insurance, spend the money on the service, the actual shipping service. So instead of doing, say FedEx ground and paying, $45, $50, $60, get FedEx 2-day international, what's it called? International economy, and that'll cost you maybe double what a ground would, but it's there in 2 days and not 4 or 5 days. Or go to the priority, FedEx priority, and it's there in 1 day, 10:30 the next morning. That's the one I love to use when I'm setting books down. Big books. So I'm setting FF1s and whatever. I like to use the priority service because I can drop it. FedEx will come and pick it up from me. And then I know they'll pick it up at 4:30 in the afternoon. I've actually had them pick it up at 6 o'clock at night, and it's in Florida by 10:30 the next morning. I love that service, but it's expensive. It's very expensive. But that's where freightcom.com comes in. Again, freightcom.com. Priority FedEx shipping is like 60-70% cheaper than just going straight to FedEx. I'm not even joking. So you want to go there and use that service. It's fantastic. Dave says, they've effed with me on statues and Sideshow and XM thing. Yeah, well, now that's I was going to say that. If you're buying a statue right from right from Sideshow or from XM and Sideshow put down the actual purchase price of that statue. So you're not getting away with it. You're going to get stung. Understand that. You're going to be paying the customs clearance fees. First, there's two different things you're paying, right? You're paying customs clearance fees, and that's for the broker to do their job, whatever that is. And then you're paying HST. So if you bought $1,000 statue from Sideshow, you're going to get stung. You're probably going to get $100, $200 in customs clearance fees, maybe a little less than that. But then you're going to be paying 13% HST on the statue itself, right? Which I think is ridiculous, but that's the way it goes. Yeah, you can't hide that. All right, you can't. When you're buying products from the U.S., right from a retailer, they oftentimes will put the actual, because honestly, in the pouch on the box, usually they put the invoice in there too. And yeah, like for example, I bought some paint. Yeah, hold on. I bought some single stage car paint from California about 3 years ago because you can't buy that in Canada anymore. So I ordered this paint. It cost me $500 for a can of hardener and a quart of this paint. It was $400 Canadian. That freaking thing, when it was all said and done, cost me almost $700. Not even joking. So yeah, because the paint company put down exactly what it was, exactly what I paid, and they took me to the cleaners when it came over the border. So yeah, if you're buying from a retailer, if you're buying from any of those comic stores in the States, and they're putting down actual values, then you're screwed. Now, if you're talking to somebody, if you're buying something off Facebook, you can always ask the person, please put down that I paid $10 for it, or put down that it's a gift, and that will usually get it through no problem. I was on Robert Meyer Burnett's show a couple weeks back. I gave out that Guardians of the Galaxy book. I gave it, a guy in Texas won it. So I put down, I sent it USPS through Canada Post. I put down gift, and that was that. I didn't pay anything. Off it went. I don't assume he paid anything either because it was a gift, and I put a $50 value on it. So they're not going to charge anything for a $50 value, right? Shipping can be awful. If you guys remember Vikram, I've always felt bad about this. Vikram was a client of mine from, I think he was from Virginia, I want to say. And he had some, like, he had some, Invincible number ones and some modern keys and whatever. And he sent me 2 boxes. And I told Vikram, I said, now Vikram, when you send the parcels, make sure you don't put the values, don't go crazy. Rather than make $100, $50. He put $6,000 value on one and $4,000 or $5,000 on the other. And the crazy thing was the books weren't even worth that, but he really overdid it. So when the books came here, 2 boxes came. One box, I had to pay $325. $325 in fees. And the other box, there was nothing. It was really stupid. So the boxes had these crazy values on them. One got stung for $350 or just under $400, and the other one had nothing on it. So sometimes you get lucky, you don't get charged anything. But anyways, I spent close to a year trying to get Vikram's money back. I sent forms into to Revenue Canada. I explained what I sent, copies of his invoice, what we did, how he paid me for my services, where the books went to CGC and how they were returned to him in Virginia or whatever. I sent them to 2 different offices. They both got rejected, sent back, rejected, sent back. I must have spent 3 or 4 hours on this. And I said, I apologized to Victor. I said, sorry, my man, I think I'm tapping out now. I spent a lot of time and paperwork and energy trying to get his money back. A time before that, about a year before Vikram sent, another client got charged about 150 for something. I got his money back, but they made it very hard to do. So yeah, if you end up paying those fees, there are ways to get it back, but it can be very convoluted and sort of hard to do. But yeah. Shipping is awful. Lord Thoth, yeah, no doubt. I haven't been lucky for shipping and customs charges in years. You have not been lucky? Yeah, again, I'm very fortunate with CGC. I have never encountered anything. I've had no problems at all. I was having problems with stuff going to CGC. I think I explained this before. I would put down the values of the books and I would ship them to CGC. And what was happening is FedEx was clearing the parcel for me, and they were charging CGC for my parcels. Then CGC, they were charging them Canadian. Then I was getting charged back American for it was a real hassle, a real mess. So anyways, long story short is, I had to contact FedEx and fight with them and say, I don't want you charging them anymore. Any bills that I incur at the border, send them directly to me, not to the receiver, to me, the shipper. So that seems to be all fixed. I haven't had any of those back charges from CGC in years. But I have a broker as well. It's FedEx Trade Network is my broker, and they clear all parcels coming back from CGC. And I think things that go to CGC as well, too. And I've had no problems whatsoever. I negotiated a rate with them years ago. I think I'm still paying the same rate. I should probably look into that. But it's like $20 a box or $22 a box or something like that, plus HST. So every single box that I get back from CGC, whether it's 25 books or 1 book, I'm paying $25. I worked that out with them. Because all the parcels coming from CGC obviously contain the exact same thing. And when I kind of explained that to them, I said, listen, it's coming from the same place, same product. It's all customer returns, no purchases. They gave me that rate. So it's worked out quite well for me. Lord Thoth says, it used to be you would get dinged for customs 1 in 10. Now, you're getting dinged all the time. Yes. Well, again, the HST part, you can avoid that by keeping the values low. The amount you're paying for customs clearance fees can be controlled also by the value. If you're clearing $1,000 parcel, you're going to get stung hard with customs clearance fees and HST. And understand, customs clearance fees are also, if you're Canadian, you're also paying HST on the fees. So you're getting charged the fees and HST on those fees, plus HST on the entire value of the of whatever's being sent to you. So yeah, it can get pretty ugly. But if you keep those values low, the HST will be waived and the customs clearance fees will be low. And yeah, you know what? You can sometimes fight with them for it, but any parcel coming in from the United States has to be cleared by a broker. If you're using FedEx or UPS. Now, you could use USPS. I find USPS, again, if the values are low, Canada Post doesn't usually charge any customs clearance type fees. Not that I have seen. Again, unless the parcel's like $4,000, you'll be okay. Yeah, but the shipper never keeps the value low anymore. Well, that's the problem. They don't buy from them. I hate to tell you that. I mean, I know you don't want to hear that, Lord Thoth, but I mean, that's what it's going to be, right? I mean, you gotta talk with people and say, listen, I'll buy it from you, but on the return, on the documents, please say it's a gift, or please say it's, a lower than you paid, because they're gonna sting you. They're gonna sting you, and it's not really fair. That's all you can do. Or buy Canadian. Eric says, do what I do, move to the border city and pick up stateside. LOL. Yes. You could do that. Problem is, you still have to drive into wherever. But in my case, it would be Buffalo. Driving back from Buffalo, I'm supposed to declare what I have. right? You're still supposed to declare. Now, you don't have to, and you can get in trouble for that, but you're supposed to declare. So if I go to Buffalo to pick up a parcel, if I go to Buffalo to pick up a $1,000 XM statue, and I'm coming back into Canada, they're going to say, oh, how long have you been here for? 3 hours. What'd you go? What was your purpose of your visit? To pick up stuff from my mailbox. Well, what do you got? Oh, I got a statue from XM. Do you have the invoice for that? Here it is. They're still going to charge you HST. You may not have to pay the customs clearance fees because you're doing it yourself. You're bringing it in yourself. But the border can still charge you HST. Right? Am I wrong, Eric? I think I'm right there. But, I actually started doing this sort of thing even before I was pressing comic books. I was doing this when a lot of you probably know I'm into old cars and stuff. I started bringing in old Mustangs into Canada, like, the classic car, not the horse, but the actual car, back in the late 90s. And the early 2000s, and I imported 2 or 3 of them, and I learned a lot doing that. Though I'm sure it's pretty much similar thing. But when I brought the cars over the border, I had to go to a special office, and I had to tell them, I had to say, okay, this is what I paid for the car, and they would threaten you. They say, if you're lying about, we're gonna investigate this. If we find that you're telling us you paid $15,000 or $10,000, but you actually paid $20,000. And you're not telling us the truth, we're going to impound your car, and you're going to have fines and da. So you had to tell them the truth, man. You can't be bullshitting because you can lose it. I mean, if you bring even that statue I'm talking, if you bring a statue over the border and you tell them you paid $100 for it, but you actually paid $1,000, and they looked into it, and they can look into your bank records, they can look into everything's electronic now, right? They can, and if they do, yeah, you can get stung. So you're better to be honest about it. I talked to Revenue Canada. I told Revenue Canada what CGC does. I said they don't put the actual values on their parcels, and I don't put the actual values on the parcels when I send the books down. Oh, you have to. I go, but I don't, and I don't because I incur these stupid fees that I should not be incurring because they've not been sold. These are books that are being graded, evaluated, graded, and returned to me, and I'm returning them to my customers. They're not even my books. Right? So I try to explain that to Revenue Canada. I want to do everything on the up and up. I don't want to be, bullshitting or whatever. I try to keep everything fair and honest. But I mean, if I had to deal with that as well, like, trying to get, fees back from Revenue Canada because they overcharged, oh my God, forget it. Absolutely forget it. I wouldn't even bother. But and CGC's been doing, they figured that out themselves. They knew that this was an issue, and that's how they've been dealing with it. So yeah. Eric says, Buffalo too far. I could be across the US in 18 minutes, but yes, they sometimes charge. Over 200 seems to get you pulled in. Yeah, that's what I mean, right? So you could say, but okay, I saved the customs clearance fees. But then you had to drive. I'm not sure where you are, Eric, but you had to drive into the States, to drive back, and to sit in the car. You got to maybe deal with the people at customs. They could still charge you anyway. I don't know if it's worth it or not. It just saves a solid 30 to 70. Yeah, exactly. It's 30 to 70 bucks. I usually get gas too on the trip over, which is cool. It's usually a better deal to really maximize the worth of the cross border. Exactly. And then you can also go to McDonald's and get one of their awesome iced teas, which we can't get here. We can't. It really sucks. I've been lucky in Buffalo. I've honestly told them what I bought, and they've told me to go the last couple of times. That's cool. Usually, if it's under a few $100s, they're not going to waste your time, But you got to remember, FedEx and USPS, sorry, not FedEx and UPS in particular are notorious for trying to get their shekels, every last little penny out of you for their service, right? So you have to. Again, do your due diligence, understand what you might be in for if you use their service. Again, UPS is terrible. And I'll say this, and I've said it before. I've done another video on shipping before, but UPS, like for example, say you send me a box from the States and you put $100, just $100 value as a gift. I'll get a call from UPS when it arrives in Canada. And it will say, hi, this is UPS calling. You have a parcel that needs to be cleared. Could you please contact us and let us know if you want us to clear it or if you have another broker? Now, most people don't have a broker. So they'll call UPS and say, hi, yeah, could you please clear that? Sure, it's $52. But the item's only $100. Yes, but the clearance fee is $52, right? So they'll call me, and what I say is, yes, please use FedEx Ground. Here is my, FedEx Trade. And I said, do you want my account number? Sometimes they take my account number. Most times they say, no, that's fine. We'll pass it on to FedEx Trade. And I get charged nothing. So what I'm trying to tell you is it's a racket. It's an absolute racket. Because then the next day, my parcel's delivered. They don't ask for a penny. And you know who delivers it? UPS. They finish it off. So, and I've never gotten a bill from FedEx Trade for one of those UPS packages. So it's a bit of a racket. Dave says, I've been lucky in Buffalo. Oh, okay, I already said that. All right, guys. What else do I got to say? Anything else? Let's see. That's pretty much it. It goes, what I've talked about here today pretty much goes for American, sending parcels from the States to Canada or from Canada back to the United States. Same deal. You know, I just got a parcel from Kev out in California. You saw the pictures. I just posted them on Instagram. Some pretty heavy hitter books there. And I don't think there was any charges at all. He, you know, I wish I had his box here. I could tell you what he put on it. His invoice. Actually, you know, well, actually, I'm not sure where it is. I can't be bothered right now. But all I'm saying is I received the parcel from FedEx and there was no extra fees. There was nothing. I didn't pay any shipping fees. Didn't pay any HST. It was just delivered. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And I mean, he must have had probably almost $30,000 in books in that box, right? But I didn't buy those. They're still his books. They're going back to him. So why should he pay anything? Because it would make no sense, right? Listen, guys, thank you so much for popping by. I hope that does help. If you have any specific questions about shipping comics or toys or collectibles or pretty much anything from here to from Canada to the United States or from the United States back into Canada, throw me the question in the comment section below, or you can always send me an email. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Dave also says, any dealings with Freak Show Comics in Niagara Falls? I have not. No, I don't buy a lot of comics. There are ways around it, guys. You gotta figure it out, right? But no, I have not had any dealings with the Freak Show. Again, I don't buy comics all that often. But that's it for me, my friends. Thank you again so much for popping by. And I don't think there's any books currently en route from CGC, but I anticipate some coming towards the end of this coming week. So look for another unboxing probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week. Some of you have orders that are complete. I'll be texting you very, very soon regarding that. If you're just getting here now, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I go live next time. And I hope to see you again here live next time. And by the way, I actually did post a video. It wasn't a live video last week. Go check it out. It's a special edition of What's in the Press with some really nice books. Those books of Kevin's I just mentioned, a lot of them are featured on this What's in the Press video. I dropped it, I think, 2 days ago or 3 days. It has Tales of Suspense 39 on the thumbnail, and it has had no views, and I can't understand why, because it's an awesome video. And you're going to love these books, man. They were like tons of Marvel Silver Age keys. If you like those, you're going to want to watch it. All right, guys, have a fantastic night and a great start of your week tomorrow. Hope to see you here again very, very soon. All the best, and bye for now. See ya.